talked to just a few people. I'd only talked to, I think, 3 or 4 professors.
Yeah, yeah.
I was quizzing them.
Right.
And I said, I need a big office. They said, well, we'll give you the biggest office we have. The dean just left for, the dean of the College of Science has just moved to somewhere back east in Virginia or something, North Carolina. You could have his office.
Oh, how nice.
So they were willing to do anything. So I accepted, and
here you are.
Yeah.
And
Still here.
and then when
Bravo.
I came, I immediately became the assistant director of the Latin American Center because Wilbert had come through in a big way.
Right.
And
You knew him, Johannes, remember?
Yeah, I was friends
you
with
could
him.
imagine,
Yeah.
I wrote the proposal from USAID for $3 million on 20 pages. On the typewriter. And
Olivetti.
we got it.
Olivetti.
They came and talked to me and said, hey, this is great.
Yeah.
You can't get away with that anymore. That door's gone.
That door is closed.
But then I had this great reputation here.
Yeah.
And then so the idea was we would,
USAID?
Yes.
USAID.
I know USAID, but why was USAID giving you money? I thought they were more like foreign
we
development.
were doing to
projects.
develop.
What's development?
Bolivia,
On an intellectual level.
Yeah.
send students and do research and publish books. I had it all laid out.
Internationalization.
Nobody had any idea.
Globalization before.
Yeah.
How do you,
All the left.
Yeah,
you
they
could have
call it-
ideas in those days. You can't even have ideas today.
Yeah.
You got to see what the donor wants, not what we want. what the
Exactly.
donor
It's
wants.
what they want. They dictate. They dictate it up above to down to you what to do.
So then I took on the job of internationalizing, linking all of there was an MA in Latin American Studies, but there was an MA in Library Science and in Public Affairs and in Engineering and in Law. And I said, we're going to have,
Love it.
what is it called? You get 2 MAs.
Yeah, there's a word. I'm trying to remember that.
Yeah,
Concurrent.
Dual major?
Articulated degree.
Articulated degrees.
Articulated degrees. Yes. Slowly.
And then I wrote a book on it.
Right.
And everybody looked at that book and I said, my God, what have you done? How did you do this? Well, I just wrote, I never told anybody then, but I just got everybody together. Well, everybody was me. So I had the power to write a letter and say, the committee has approved.
I love it.
That's the academic
I
said.
love you.
The committee has approved. Didn't say who was on it. Signed chair, and that was me. I'm the one person. Approve all of these 22 articulated degree programs.
Wonderful. And he set up the whole department in the Latin American studies like this.
Well, right.
He
It's
founded
become
it.
one of the
Yeah.
most
The
major
founder.
places.
So,
Intellectual.
I've never heard this story.
That, he did that by himself.
but then they realized, wait a minute, how did this happen? How did this happen? There were a lot of suspicions raised. This is impossible. To defeat the bureaucracy that the Latin American Center grew like this, with a lot of jealousy
Yeah.
among other departments.
Right. You also, there was a lot of defense money too. Like I remember we got grants from the National Defense Education Act.
Right, yeah.
Because that was part of development. Is like, ideas you study. This is the era of, we could be intervening anywhere and whatever.
Right. Study
And
the-
so you needed to know about all these places.
Sure,
That was the argument.
Development and
To win the
innovation.
hearts and minds.
Right. It was the tail end of the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
and they were worried about, communist penetration.
Well, but so they cracked down and that closed that door. I squeaked through at the end. But nobody had ever squeaked through it, so nobody knew there was a problem. I just took advantage of some loopholes.
Bravo.
But it had to be done. Why not
Somebody
do it?
has to do it. Yeah.
And I would let everybody into the university. I thought, give them a chance. No, we can't give them a chance. Now No, no.
That's what happened with the history department. You know, the history department became, very, very selective. They hardly let any students in, and now they don't have enough TAs for the classes.
What is
Right.
what
history
that's
view.
bureaucratized and everything?
No,
Yeah.
they just have a very elitist notion.
Without the students, they can't get the money for the TAs, and so without the TAs, they can't get, probably the program can't grow.
Right. Yeah.
They cut it down deliberately. It's cutting down
Well, they
education.
have money. The history department now has that what's that?
Baldwin grant.
Yeah, the foundation. I can't remember.
England,
Yeah, it's this
Baldwin.
family
What's
that's
the name of
related
it?
to
The Baldwin
Peter
Foundation.
Baldwin, and his wife's family developed in Sweden this like plastic packaging for food that allowed food to be stored in a refrigerator for long periods, and they made millions on
Yeah.
this.
Sure.
And they gave a bunch of money
To the history department at UCLA.
and they
Yeah.
so they subsidize, almost entirely subsidize most of their
The
students.
department.
Strings attached?
Well, no, it's just that they don't let many people in, and so they don't have
Small
hardly.
department now, it's a small
Well,
department, huh, for graduate
Well,
studies?
Yes.
it's got a lot of professors. They just don't have a lot of students.
But see, there were a couple of times I could have intervened to stop all these things because they wanted me to be chair.
Yes, you could
I
have done
remember
it.
Roger said, called me and said, "Congratulations, you're to be the new chair. Once you go see the dean about it, he's going to tell you all about it." I said, "I don't want to be chair. Tell him I've come and seen him, but I'm not going to be chair." I walked into the dean and he, "Congratulations." I shook his head and said, "But I'm not going to be chair." "What? I thought this was all fixed." Because they say they're consulting with the faculty,
Right.
but the faculty was behind me. But and twice the Latin American Center, twice history. I didn't want to be the director of anything because you got to be there 8 to 5, and that's not freedom.
Right. It was you'd be an administrator.
And then these
Yeah,
bureaucrats
it's
took over,
administration.
the small-minded people who said that if you get admitted to history, you have to be supported by us and be a TA. So you have to have all this money committed to you, so we can only have so many packages.
Right.
So they were admitting down to 13 students for the whole department.
Right.
For the PhD.
Graduate students.
And
Yeah.
one maybe in in history, Latin America, among 4 professors.
Wow.
Yes.
And then if they didn't come,
Right, and see, and the
You had
problem
no-
became, you'd have people have to TA in things they didn't know anything about,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that was not good.
From another planet.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And they
So-
all rely on TAs
My
who don't know
objection-
So
anything.
is it still that way?
Yes.
Now it
yes.
is, yeah.
it's worse.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
very bad what's right now.
It's gotten very
It's
bad.
stripped to the
Well,
bone.
yeah.
No
How many
money.
faculty are there?
I don't know, Jim, how many?
Well, the outgoing dean wanted to. He was getting a lot of complaints from all the other departments, but history had monopolized everything because it had the huge enrollments because everybody wanted to take Western Civ
Right.
as their
Basic.
Core.
they had to have a course in history and they would go to that, and that's a year-long course pretty much. And that was generating money for TAs, and the history department was so I had 150 professors or something.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 of them or 40 of them were visitors or temporary. Or,
Yeah.
so the dean said, "No, we're going to have you got to not only cut down your professors. We're not going to we got to make the history department equal to the size of the other departments like anthropology and geography and political
Whatever,
science
yes.
and economics. Nobody's taking their courses. They feel that you're taking away their
Livelihood. Yeah. It's
and
criminal
you're
what's going
getting
on.
all the
I'm
money
telling
for the
you.
secretary.
It's criminal. This is becoming third world country, you know?
But
Especially
worse, they
education.
said, you've got to have money from us.
Speaking in Chinese instead.
I said, if
Chinese
they've got-
like rich generals' kids.
I said, if they've got money coming in from a foreign country like Conacit in Mexico,
Yeah.
more power to them. They're not going to become professors here. They're going to be professors in Mexico.
Is
Right.
there a-
No, they've got to be follow our model and be. What the hell? Get the money.
Right.
And let
Yeah.
them in and see if they could do it.
Yeah.
It's just.
I lost battle after battle after
Yeah,
that.
yeah. They've gotten very formalistic, they have to fit in these boxes.
Well,
It's all boxed in. They
but
boxed
then
in.
I realized that
There is no
I
future.
could invite people to be visiting scholars here.
That's it.
That's
the
when
power.
I invited 43 people to be visiting postdoctoral fellows
Just
around the
listen.
world.
You kept bringing all these
Gary.
people in around.
He
the,
did. He brought in 50 people.
50 people
He
around,
did,
got them
yeah,
around the fence.
yeah.
Well, over the time, I brought in all these important people. And they donated money, and the Ford Foundation gave us money for the people coming from China because I was the only one they knew over there through the statistical abstract, because it was considered apolitical. So we were there, but then somebody at some point seems to have said, "What's going on?" My feet just circulated around. I said, "How did this happen?" If you have one in your career, that's plenty.
Yeah.
So in other words,
Did they clamp down on you? You
they,
didn't have any?
not
No.
ostensibly, they just changed the rules so it couldn't be done. I would have to go through 7 steps to get there, and each one of them would be through another
Yeah,
committee
complicated.
and argue the case. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
good.
it made it too much trouble.
Yeah, they made it a lot of very
You
hard.
couldn't be creative.
Yeah.
Another door slammed.
Another,
But
all
I
the doors.
I had everything was working just fine. I didn't.
So that's the title for your movie, Ahead of the Slamming Doors.
Ahead of the curveball of the
I
slamming
was
doors.
always one step ahead of the doors that closed.
Yeah, bravo.
Right behind me that would have cut me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too?
And
Mm-hmm.
I could feel the wind from the doors shutting right behind me.
Coldly hitting my tender buttocks.
But I got through, in good shape. But they still continued to close the kinds of things
All the
that
time.
allowed you to move, anybody like me to move on.
And science and knowledge. They barriers, they pose barriers instead of facilitating knowledge.
So Dick, so your students, did they go into Latin American geography or geography generally? Different.
Mostly geography in general.
Mm.
I only had I don't think I had that many Latin American
NIST.
geography students per se. I kind of switched gears too. I did the Historical Atlas of Massachusetts, and I did a number of things. Started teaching about sense of place, attachment to place,
To the
importance of place
places.
in people's lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of more of a humanistic,
Cultural geography.
cultural
Attachment.
geography.
Attachment to the place. That's wonderful.
Well, all these people helped. You get
And I was
33
the
people.
grad program director
over all
for
those
20
years.
years in the department.
Right.
And
50 years here.
I did a
You
lot.
built it up in that way.
Since Jim,
Yeah.
you did
go
for
into
50
academia
years.
mainly, or?
You're
Still
there.
is. I'm up to 50 or 51 now.
He's up to 51.
51 years here.
But
Yes.
I was on PhD committees
Thank you, Jim.
in 17 different
That was
departments.
fascinating to
Wow.
listen from you,
Programs.
how the history department went to
The
hell.
biggest number were in anthropology. I was over 30 of them there. I was probably going to be 65 or 70 PhD
Wow.
committees in other departments. But I was always a champion of the graduate students and trying to get them through and trying to help them instead of create hurdles
Hurdles.
that
Yeah.
would drag things out.
Yeah.
And so the students, the graduate students loved me.
Right, right.
And this department they're always the hurdle makers. What's Wilkie trying to do now? Help getting these students through. We want them here 10 years at least. I had to be here 10 years and I got my degree.
Right, right.
Yay.
And that's why I was teaching a course called Spirit of Place,
Yeah?
a graduate seminar that was pulling graduate students from all
All
these
around.
other departments in. And they were
Loved it.
fascinated by the idea
Yeah.
of what it was about places that make them unique and stand out, and why are we drawn to these places. And that's how I got on so many PhD committees
Right,
in
right.
other departments.
Because it
Just-
makes sense, and certainly anthro and sociology can see that.
Yeah, just the whole range
Wow.
of places. But
Right, right.
so I was always doing things in Latin American study. When Lombardi came, I was offered the directorship of the Latin American Studies program at one point, but I didn't want to do that.
He was the Venezuela guy.
Yeah.
Right,
He
I
was on
remember.
our board of directors.
Right, right. Is he still there, or what?
No,
He went to Florida.
well, he was Florida first, and then he came to us. Then he became the chancellor of the whole system in Louisiana.
Oh, really?
Was he in
Most
Indiana at some
recently.
point?
Yeah.
He was in Indiana.
Early on.
Yeah.
And now he's retired and back in Amherst.
Oh, okay. Well,
Decided that's where we want to live.
right. That's nice place.
When I got those Hewlett grants, it was a huge breakthrough, $500,000 every 3 years. And I could have these conferences everywhere, including China and Russia, every place, and then bring in all these visiting scholars to help out. I couldn't do it alone. This was all done by other people helping, working. And say, you know, you do it. This is your book. Not mine. You're going to make this work.
Yeah, the idea is to make things happen and to open doors for people
Right.
and to,
Right.
and to have that dynamic rather than just these obstructionists who want to obstruct everybody.
Yeah,
and
the
everything.
obstructionist mentality.
Bureaucracy tends to reinforce itself and tends to create these little hurdles because it gives people a function. You know, their function is to be a gatekeeper. Everyone
Right.
wants to be a
The
gatekeeper.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Police the boundaries.
I have a model of about 13 different types of academic types. I should send you copies of it.
Can
It's
you?
down, but one of them
Can
is
you?
the
I want to read
the
that.
gatekeeper.
The gatekeepers, yeah.
Gatekeeper's definitely part of it.
Send us that one. I'd like to see
Send it to us.
You need to have an artist work with you, a caricaturist drawing the different 13 types.
That's right.
The Prof Max then was established in '82 and officially located here with resources, and office space. That lasted until 2003 when everybody was so jealous that it was better to decentralize it and move it off to different places.
Right.
Publications to Guadalajara, which was a fact anyway. And they're abolishing the publications here at UCLA. They no longer publish it.
Really? They don't publish anymore here? Why?
They stopped the statistical abstract. Well, it was, the economic crisis of 2001 and the dot-com box. There was always financial considerations, but we had the money, but they set up a general rule that they didn't want to allow things to happen. And like hosting other outside institutions. Well, they made it general for the whole campus. It was not targeted at me. But it was time to move on anyway, because you don't want people, you want people to be happy. And we had somebody who made it happen, Elwin Svensson.
Sure, I remember him.
He was the vice chancellor of international affairs.
First, he was
And
open-minded.
he believed in Latin America.
He believed in
And
Latin
he was
America.
backing us, boy.
He loved it.
strongly. He was always there when we needed him to push through. And then he kind of fell out of favor after a while. After Chuck Young, after the accident with the car.
I'll give you my card. Here.
Should we go in soon, Prof?
Yeah, I think we're-
I don't want to end the
Thank
party
you,
here,
Jim.
but I think we
Thank you, Jim. So that was a great oral history of Dr. James Wilkie. Thank you.
We're going to get back to
I was
work.
going to send you something.
Yeah, what was that?
What was I going to send him?